Hello students, welcome to the YouTube class of Computer Applications on behalf of Southern School affiliated to ICSE New Delhi. Today our lesson will be Introduction to Loops or Iterative Structure, where I will also cover for loop in detail. You are already familiar with the bidirectional branching in Java, where in a statement, just like this example, in a statement containing if a condition is provided. Here condition means any relational expression or maybe a logical expression. So if this condition evaluates to be true, then these two statements will be executed, statement 1 and statement 2. And if the condition evaluates to be false, then these two statements will be executed, that is statement 3 and statement 4. So basically in this chapter we learned about the process of making choice of statements which are to be executed. So we learned about the making of choice of the statements which are to be executed. Now in this chapter we will learn how a statement or a group of statements will be executed for a number of times according to a condition. So the conventional definition of a loop will be: a loop is a statement or a set of statements that gets executed repeatedly for a number of times when a specific condition is satisfied. Let's discuss about a real life example of loop, and you may think of your daily routine on school days as an example. So I am considering Monday to Friday as your school days. So Saturday and Sunday are the holidays, they are not the school days. So at first consider Monday. Now see here, what are the tasks you used to perform on Monday. So at first you wake up from the bed at 6 a.m. So this is the first task you perform on Monday. And then you have your breakfast at 7 a.m. Then you arrive at the school at 7:40 a.m. Then you attend the assembly at 7:55 a.m. You take tiffin in the recess hour or tiffin period at 11 a.m. Then the final bell of your school rings at 2 p.m. and you arrive at the home at 2:30 p.m. Then you go to bed for a sleep or some rest at 3:30 p.m. Then you arrive at the playing field for playing at 4:30 p.m. and then you sit for the study at 6 p.m. suppose, and then you have your dinner at 10:30 p.m. and at last, which is the end task, that you go to bed at 11 p.m. So these are the events you are executing on Monday. So what will happen on Tuesday? On Tuesday again you have to repeat these events. Again you have to wake up from bed at 6 a.m. Then you have to take your breakfast at 7 a.m. So these are the events you need to perform again. So these are the events will be repeated on Tuesday. On Wednesday again they will be repeated. On Thursday they will be repeated, and on Friday they will be repeated. So But on Saturday and Sunday, obviously these events will not be repeated because Saturday and Sunday are the holidays. So the condition is that if the weekday is Monday to Friday, if the weekday falls within Monday to Friday, both inclusive, then only you will repeat this task. And if the weekday is not within this range, that means within Monday to Friday, that means Saturday and Sunday, then you will not repeat this task. So actually, to maintain your daily routine on school days, you are conducting a loop, and this loop you are executing 5 times in a week on the basis of a condition, and the condition is pretty clear. The condition is the school day, the weekday must be a school day. That means the weekday must be Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday or Friday. So the question is, why do we need the concept of loops in programming? Suppose you are asked to write a program to print all the natural numbers from 1 to 5. So what you will do? Obviously you will use system.out.println statements, 5 system.out.println statement inside the main function, as you do not have the concept of loop. So inside the main function you will write 5 system.out.println statements like system dot out dot println 1. This statement will print the natural number 1. Next one, system dot out dot println 2, to print the natural number 2. Next, system dot out dot println 3. Next, system dot out dot println 4, and at last system dot out dot println 5. So these set of statements will give the output as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That means all the natural numbers will be printed in different lines as you have used println. So now if you are asked, so this is easy to print 5 natural numbers. This is an easy process. But if you are asked to print all the natural numbers from 1 to 1000, then will it be possible for you? Yes, obviously it is possible. But if you follow this way, that means sequentially, if you want to write system.out.println statement 1000 times, so it will be extremely difficult for you. So we need, in this regard, we need a concept that will help or that will instruct the computer to perform the repetition of a particular task, so that all the natural numbers from 1 to 1000 can be printed. So we can say that a loop is nothing but a concept that helps the computer to perform repetition of a particular statement or a set of statements to fulfill our task. Now we will discuss about the elements that control a loop. A looping structure contains 4 parts or elements, and we will discuss this one by one. So the first one is initialization of loop control variable. Initialization of loop control variable. So at first you have to be familiar with the term loop control variable. So what is loop control variable? Loop control variable is a variable that starts with a value and determines the duration of the repetition. So before entering in a loop, the loop control variable must be initialized. Now the second one is test expression. Test expression means the condition or the relational expression whose evaluated value decides whether the body of the loop will be executed or not. So if this text expression or the condition evaluates to be true, then the loop or the body of the loop will be executed. And if the condition evaluates to be false, then the loop will be terminated. That means the body of the loop will not be executed anymore. So the loop will be terminated. Next is update expression. Update expression determines the updation, that means the increment or decrement of the value of the loop control variable. So updation can be two types. Updation can be increment, or updation can be the decrement of the value of the loop control variable. So this expression and this update expression gets executed after the end of the execution of the body of the loop. So when the body of the loop will be executed, and then only the value of the loop control variable will be updated. That means it may be incremented by some values or it may be decremented by some values. Next is body of the loop, or you can say in short loop body. So we can write the definition like that: a statement or a set of statements gets executed repeatedly from the body of the loop. Now we will discuss about the types of loops on the basis of nature of iterations. So on the basis of nature of iteration, the loops are divided into two types. Number one is fixed loop, and number two is unfixed loop. So first, let's discuss about fixed loop. So when we will use fixed loop, we use fixed loop when the number of iteration is already known to us. When the number of iterations is already known to us. This type of loop uses a counter variable to keep track how many times a set of statements has been repeated. So this type of loop uses a counter. So in case of a fixed loop, we can say the loop control variable can also be regarded as a counter variable, because it is used to keep track how many times a set of statements has been repeated. For this reason, this type of loop, that means fixed loops, are also known as count controlled loop. An example of fixed loop is for loop. An example with reference to a program, suppose a program to print natural numbers from 1 to 100. So here we will use fixed loop, that means for loop, because we need to print natural numbers from 1 to 100. As we know, the total number of iteration will be 100. So the total number of iteration is already known to us. Now unfixed loop. We will use unfixed loop if the total number of iterations to take place is unknown to us. The first iteration of this type of loops is performed by default, as the condition evaluates to be true at the start of first iteration. After that, the algorithm of this type of loops asks the user to enter a value to either continue the next iteration or terminate the loop. Then the value entered by the user is applied in the test expression or condition at the start of next iteration. And if that condition evaluates to be true, then the next iteration is performed, and if the condition evaluates to be false, then the loop is terminated. So the number of iteration going to take place in this type of loop depends upon the condition. That's why this type of loops are also termed as condition controlled loop. So examples of unfixed loop are do while loop and while loop. And an example with reference to a program is to print all the natural numbers from 1 to as much the user once. So here we do not know the last natural number to be printed. So that's why we cannot really tell about the total number of iterations that are going to take place. So in this case we will apply unfixed loop, that means do while loop or while loop. Now we will discuss about the types of loops considering the factor nature of updation of the loop control variable, and the loops are of two types. Number one is forward loop, and the second one is backward loop. So now let's define these two. Forward loop, at first forward loop. Forward loop, I'm writing the definition: if the value of the loop control variable is incremented after the end of the execution of the loop body, then the loop is termed as forward loop. Forward loop means the value of the loop control variable will be incremented. And now in case of backward loop, the definition will be simple. Only you need to replace this word incremented by decremented. So if the value of the loop control variable is decremented after the end of the execution of the loop body, then the loop will be termed as backward loop. Now we will learn about for loop. You already know for loop is a fixed loop or count control loop, and the reason is already explained to you. So for loop is the easiest to understand of Java loops, because in case of for loop, the initialization expression, the test expression and update expression all are gathered in one place, that means on top of the loop. So the syntax of for loop is very simple. For, then you have to write initialization expression, then a semicolon, then test expression, semicolon, update expression. So that is the loop header, then one opening brace, and then we will write the statements that are to be executed. That means the body of the loop. So statement 1, statement 2, dot dot dot, statement n. So we can write here any number of statements and the closing brace. So this is the loop header where initialization expression, test expression and update expression are written together, and from this portion to this portion is known as body of the loop. Now consider an example. For int I equals to 1. So this is the initialization expression. Here the loop control variable or the counter variable is I, and the initial value is 1, which is given to I. Now the test expression. So I am writing here I less than equals to 5. And here update expression. So update expression, suppose increment, so I plus plus. And in the body of the loop, I will write only one statement, that is system dot out dot println SES, that means South End School. So whenever this loop will be executed, we will execute this loop. At that time, you can see here the number of iterations will be 5, because the initial value of I is 1 and it is getting incremented by 1 after every iteration. So the last value of I is 5, so total number of iteration will be 5. So for I equals to 1, ACS will be printed. That means system.out.println statement will be executed. So ACS will be printed. Next, the value of I will be 2. So for I equals to 2, again ACS will be printed. For I equals to 3, ACS will be again printed. For I equals to 4, ACS will be again printed. For I equals to 5, for the last time, ACS will be printed. And the value of I will be 6. And as the test condition is I less than equals to 5, that means you just put here the last value of I is 6. So 6 less than 5, so condition is not satisfied. So that's why the control of the program will not enter into the body of the loop. So this statement system.out.println ACS will not be executed. So the loop will be terminated and ACS will be printed 5 times. So the number of iteration is 5. Now consider a program. Write a program to print natural numbers from 1 to 100. So we will solve this program with the application of for loop. But before solving this one, we need to answer some questions. Let's see the questions. The first question is, what is our task? And the answer is printing natural numbers. Second question, how many iterations? So you have to print natural numbers from 1 to 100. So obviously 100 iterations. So we will write 100 iterations. First value to be printed, we have to print natural numbers from 1 to 100. So first value obviously will be 1. Last value to be printed is 100. So first value to be printed is 1. We will keep this value in initialization expression, and last value to be printed is 100. We will put this value in test expression. And the last question is the first value smaller than the last value? Yes, the answer is yes. That means the loop will be forward loop. So the program will be, let's take a class, public class for loop. This is the class name, and then public static void main string args array. This is the main function, and inside the main function I will declare the variable, the loop control variable, that is int I, only one variable, and then the for loop. For I equals to 1, because the starting value is 1, then I less than equals to the last value to be printed, that is 100, and the update expression I++. Forward loop, that's why increment. And inside the loop we will keep only one statement, that is system.out.println I. So the value of I will be printed in every iteration. So this is the end of the for loop, this is the end of the main function, and this is the end of the class. So this is our program to print all the natural numbers from 1 to 100. Now let's execute the program that is to print all the natural numbers from 1 to 100 using for loop in BlueJ IDE. So as you can see here, the for loop class has been created, the same class has been created here, which I have discussed earlier. Now open the editor. So as you can see, the program, public class for loop, public static void main string args array, this is the main function, the prototype of the main function, and then int I, the variable I has been declared, which is actually a counter variable, or you can say it is a loop control variable, and then the for loop has been placed here for I equals to 1, which is the initialization expression where the initial value 1 is given or assigned to I, and then the test expression I less than equals to 100, and the increment I++, which is the update expression of the for loop. And as you can see here, system.out.println, only one statement has been placed inside the for loop. So basically this program will print all the values of I from 1 to 100. So let's check it. At first I will compile. So you can see here, class compiled, no syntax error. So you are now allowed to execute. So let's close this and then run it. So this is the output. Let me scroll up. As you can see here, the first natural number that is printed is 1, and after that 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, the natural numbers is getting incremented by 1, and when it ends, you can see the last natural number is 100. So that's all for now. In the next class I will discuss about do while loop and while loop in detail. Until then, stay safe and goodbye.